Good morning, folks. Or should I say, Guten Tag. I'm going to be working on some elements here to make my German Army, Medieval German Army 3.0 compatible. So what that consists of is some crossbowmen with pavisas and the petronels. So we've cleaned up our petronels here from Runway up, and we're going to give them the epoxy treatment. And while that dries, and then we'll start messing with these guys, and then we'll prime them. So this is two stands. This is a stand of crossbowmen and a stand of, in DBA, they're considered cavalry. So let's get to it. Let's grab I had cleaning these up the other morning. That was off camera, and encountered a really unusual issue, and I'll show you on the figure I didn't use what it is. Because I come 4 to a pack, and I only need 3 of them. But if you look at the mounted figure here, see if I should be able to come up well. Look at the mold lines of where he is on his helmet. The mold line literally goes through his helmet, and it's distorted. It's almost like there's a fault line, like in a earthquake. It is split and it's offset, so it's really bad on this figure. So I tried to pick the 3 figures that had the least problems with that, and then cleaned it up some. I had to use the file a little bit, and then go in with the X-Acto knife, and kind of create the line here of this slot in his vision slit, and also kind of clean up the helmet. It took a little bit of work, not exactly what I'm expecting when I'm just cleaning up figures, but these are the better 3. So luckily, at least we have 3. But these are the horses they came with. It's kind of unusual. I like Roundway a lot, and kind of wasn't expecting that. But if I had to use this other figure, I would have been able to make him work too. It just would have taken more work to do that, and it's not really what I'm particularly keen on doing. So I'm going to get us our friend Mr. Epoxy. I find that I rarely use super glue for anything. This is the stinky one. Which one is this? Is this the resin or the hardener? The hardener. Yeah. You get in a bad habit if you use acrylics of nothing really smelling. So when something does, you're like, that's strange. I wasn't expecting a smelling thing. I think what I'm going to do from now on is we're going to be using, instead of a toothpick for this, we're going to use this needle, because it's really easy to clean off the excess epoxy off of it, and it's good to go. So we'll use this to mix up. So make sure we bring that in as well, because you don't want to leave some part of the epoxy that hasn't mixed, or it'll stay wet forever. I didn't always use epoxy. A long time ago, when I was first into doing naval stuff, I had some 124. A lot of my naval collection was by a company called CNC. And the bottom of the ships on CNC And I mean the big ships, because the little ships for everybody are solid, but the big ships were solid. So they're completely flat bottom. So back in the day, what I would do is I'd paint the bottom of the ship a certain color, depending on what navy it was. Like for instance, the Italians were green and the British were red, French were blue, Germans were gray, that sort of thing. And then I'd write the name of the ship, paint the name of the ship on the bottom of the ship. Well, I had some capital ships by a company called Superior, which is funny because they were anything but superior. Maybe at one time, but in the late '80s, there was better things out there for them than them, and the bottoms of them were hollow, so I couldn't do that with a name. So I got some epoxy and filled it in, and that was back when you did the epoxy in the two and this in the syringe type, and it took freaking weeks. I think it was always tacky. It never set properly. So I had kind of a bad opinion of epoxy back then. But I think what it was a just one that had been sitting on the shelf for too long before I bought it. And it didn't set properly. But yeah, don't go buy your epoxy in a place that doesn't do a lot of sales or one that's on discount. It's been sitting there for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever without being used. It stayed tacky forever until I got rid of it. Okay. And here they are. Let's set these guys off to the side. Let's move them somewhere where they're not sitting at an angle so this guy doesn't end up. That's weird. Oh, I guess there we go. All right, let's put him here. I want to make sure he doesn't get glued and he's sitting at an angle. There we go. All right, let's get these guys out of the way. 5 minute epoxy, it doesn't take long. We'll let it sit a little longer and then we'll prime them so that they'll be in this stage. All right, let's see what we got here. We got, looks like they're wearing some kind of an overshirt. They got chainmail, Pavis. We already know what we're going to paint on there. It's good. And likewise, some kind of hose, something like that. And little slip-on shoes. He's got some kind of a curved saber also. Okay, let's make sure that I didn't miss a spot with the... I got a couple things to clean up here. Looks like I missed it. Oh, that's more solid than I thought. Calling the big guns. Flash here in between the crossbow and the arm. I got this cut on my finger from a paper cut at work, and man, it stings when you're trying to, you're using your finger and squeezing. It's distracting. But getting a lot of paper cuts at work, which is kind of unusual. Maybe the folders and stuff they're buying are cheaper now and they cut. I don't know. I've noticed that. Oh well. Paper cut from pushing too much paper. All right. Let's do that as well. right, and we'll go in here with some black and clean that up. Now, one thing I just realized I didn't do that I promised I was going to do is, look at this mess. We didn't clean this up. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So I apologize. I'm going to step out for a little bit. Throw this old thing away. And yeah, should hand this to the museum. Let's fold this and ooh, this thing's slimy. Yuck. Okay, I'll be right back, folks. We will go rinse this out and put a new one, and then we'll change the paper on it and we can get going. Okay, so this stuff ends up being a lot more moist than you would expect it to be. So that's what we got going on there. And where are my papers? My rolling papers. No, my painting papers. I guess at some point I'm going to have to reorder these. And by the way, the paint palette that I use is from Everlasting Wet Palette, Red Grass Games. And it came with 50 of these sheets, and probably got 20 of them left, I'm guessing. I bought this several years ago, so this lasts a long time. So I'm just going to set this on the corner here. You know, and somebody said, "Hey, what do I do? What do I do with the edges keep from rolling out?" Well, you just push them down, and that's it. Done. End of story. Okay. And it does come with an extra one of these. This is the sponge, which is, I guess, semi-rigid when it's dry. Good morning, John Peter. Working on your people, the Germans. Okay. Working on the First Reich. Okay, let's get some black here in the middle. and some white, the usual suspects that we use with everything. And we're going to need the metal for metallic corner. And what else? We're going to definitely need all that stuff. We're going to need the black first because we're going to go ahead and clean up all the stuff that we missed. Uh-oh. The Germans are coming out of the woodwork. Good morning, Harvey. We're painting your people this morning. Okay. Goes a long way. And the white dries faster than the black. I don't know why. Me no understand. Hello, Mr. Cog. How are you? Thanks for stopping by last night. I think you stopped by for a little bit. Did a live Q&A, not necessarily DBA related the whole time, but it was like over 3 hours, so that was a lot of fun. Well, maybe that didn't work as planned. Oh well. See, this is the top of this thing. Let's see if we can clean this up, get a better seal. That's why this hobby of ours sometimes takes a while. You get distracted into things like this. But this has got a lot of buildup, which was the whole reason not to. Ooh, this is the whole reason for me to switch to out of the original bottles of this Citadel, which is apparently a waste of time. But I've already mentioned the good benefit that it had that I did that. Okay, let's try that again. I guess this only happens in the mornings occasionally. Well, I lost my stream, and backing out and restarting the YouTube didn't work. I had to restart the entire phone, so. I'm going to blame it on the red Chinese as I do everything else. Odds are they're behind it. Okay, well, you guys just lost me. You didn't miss anything other than me turning off my phone. So, luckily, this does not happen in the evenings when we're doing a live session. Knock on wood, we don't need that issue to happen. But, yeah, just in the morning. So, I don't know. Let's see, what did I miss? By the way, Regensburg is pronounced Regensburg. Regensburg. Okay. All right. That's good to know. We want to pronounce it right if we can. Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome back. All right. We got this here. And Regensburg. What did I call it before? Regensburg? Yeah. All right. Shouldn't be too difficult to remember. Try to pronounce everything correctly if I can. No reason not to. All right, let's get some black going. Hopefully we don't have that snafu. If we have the snafu in the middle of it, then just be patient. I will come back, and unless I don't, that's just weird. And I never drop to anything with a 5G signal to the max, so that was never an issue. I don't know, maybe it was a YouTube thing. I don't know. I'm gonna blame it on the red Chinese. Okay, just a couple little spots that just kind of missed, just for good measure. Make sure we got them covered. See, by that time, I should be able to prime the German figures now. Got distracted enough in different directions that I'll be able to prime those petronels. But yeah, the Regensburg is the symbol I'll be using for the back of these guys' shields. We're going to have red shields with the crossed keys on there. Because they're city militia. So yeah, the city has to provide them in, everything. A weapon, a shield, the clothes, otherwise they'd show up in their lederhosen. Right? I'm really good about geography, especially if there's a place that I've been to, but I don't recall exactly where Regensburg is. I'm pretty sure it's in the south, but I guess I could look it up, but it hasn't been that important. Pretty sure it's in Bayern. I could be wrong. I go through periods of knowing a lot about geography when I was a kid. And then I got into history, so then I was a World War II junkie. And then I got into this medieval stuff. And I've forgotten some World War II stuff that I knew. So, this happens if you don't exercise your brain. Atrophy. Okay. Right, so these guys are done. So let's go ahead and prime the Petronel guys. Okay. These three. I know I mentioned this earlier. If you guys caught it, I'll mention it again. This surface primer is available in white, gray, I want to say an oxide color, and they even make it in Panzer Dark Yellow. Now, there's lots of versions of Panzer Dark Yellow, which I was surprised. I mean, I knew that there was one that the Africa Corps used two different ones, but there's, I want to say, three different versions of the Panzer Dark Yellow. They did one, an ugly mustardy one that they used first until August 1943. So if you're doing Kursk vehicles, that would be the one that would be most appropriate for that. Holy crap, what happened here? How is there this much spillage on? You guys got to see this. This is strange. Where did all this extra stuff come from? Look at this. I'd never seen that happen before with this. Wow. Okay. Strange. We're not going to pour any out then. We're just going to use it off the top. Yeah. I don't think there's enough. That sounded good on paper. Still, this stuff lasts forever. It's relatively expensive, but this is a huge amount for what we do. Yeah, let's get a brush that covers a little bit. We won't spend a decade trying to paint this guy. So it should do fine. Look how this goes on. Just, it just goes on so easy. Almost like it's thinned down to the perfect consistency. It's really pretty amazing. That's why I was sold on this stuff. And they say it's self-leveling. I haven't tested that, but I've never used anything self-leveling, so the fact that if it behaves just as good as what I used before, I'm good with it. You know, it didn't need to be any better. So, yeah. It's like vehicles. If you get a car, let it just perform as good as the last one I had. I don't need it to be driverless or anything like that. You know, I used to watch a lot of videos when I was painting. Now I just paint and make my own videos while I'm painting. But I need to watch a video on those damn driverless cars. Not that I want one. I'm on the opposite side. I'll be leading the war against those things, but I'm a bit of a control freak, and seems like the new generation does not want. A lot of them don't want responsibility, and I find responsibility empowering. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be responsible for everything, but my own personal responsibility, it's empowering. So I won't be one of those that gets a driverless car, but I would like to see exactly how driverless they are. Like, can you plug in, let's go to Disney World and I'll bring my paints with me and paint in the back while it's driving? I still wouldn't be interested, but, or do you need to be available at a moment's notice if the thing freaks out and be able to take over the wheel? Of all the things in this world that you could make people-less, I would make going to work. That way, I go in, program it, and it can be done without me. Not not drive. Some people hate driving. I happen to like it. I happen to like driving. So, especially in these days, you put something. All you got to have is Bluetooth, and you know, you can listen to a book, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. You can you'll get there eventually. It's kind of like if you got to wait somewhere, you have your cell phone with you, you have something to read. Who cares? It's always got something to do. I remember back in the day, I would travel everywhere with a backpack. That was my mail purse, so to speak. And in there, I would have books and stuff to read in case I had to wait somewhere, including my original DBA 2.2 rule book, which really got worn. Let's put it that way. And still got it, but that was before I had, before the phones were where they are now. Let's just say that way. So I bring that with me everywhere I went. And apparently was working on a memorization of all the Army list numbers and their compositions, unbeknownst to me. So did a lot of surfing on that thing, looking for armies and who their enemies were and so forth. Now you don't need to bring any books with you. I still like books. It's still nothing like opening a book, but I digress, just rambling here for waiting on the folks to come in. Hopefully we don't get disconnected. If we do, be patient. I'll come back. And I had to reboot the phone to get it to get burped. I gotta believe it's not phone related because this has always happened in the mornings, actually. So, and I don't have a Chinese phone, I have a Korean phone, so there's no reason we don't put up with that. Okay. I think that's what it is. All the phones are either Chinese or Korean. How'd that happen? Okay. Good morning, Kevin. Holy crap, it's early there. You don't want responsibility for the immigrants at our border. Okay? It's not my responsibility either. You said immigrants at our border responsibility. First thing I thought of was the the drugs coming from Mexico. You know, you can't be. I don't want the drugs to come in, but then you use them. I don't know shit about drugs. I'll be honest with you. You guys watched my feed last night. I drink like 1 day a week, and I didn't have so much. Hey, by the way, will you guys check that out? See how much whiskey I had, and then see how many beers Mitch had, and then you know where Luke gets it from. Man, I'd be dead if I had that many. No, I'm just sipping and having a good time. But yeah, drugs. I don't know shit about drugs. Never done any. Never interested me of any kind. Um, but we're supposed to go south of the border in November. We will see how that goes if it happens, because a lot of things are just out of our control. But we're going to a somewhere near the water and a private residence at a big, almost like a timeshare thing that we're going there with several other couples. That's the plan. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't been out of the country in a while, obviously, as most of you. So we'll see. We'll see how many. We'll see how many shots we have to take and how many masks we have to wear to get out of the country. So things can change the drop of a hat. So you never know what's going to happen. Let's get in here with a more detailed brush because it seemed like this sloppy ass thing just kind of went every which way. Let's just drop that in there. Yeah, I guess you got front row tickets to the immigrants thing there, Kevin. Oh well. I've never been to that part of Mexico, the northern part. Usually my biggest worry in Mexico is don't, which is, it's kind of a problem because if you guys know anything about me, I love ice. And you can't have that there. You got to be really careful because, you'll end up getting involved in an unexpected weight loss program. You know what I mean? If you have the wrong water. Does that happen to you guys in Europe when you come to the US? John Peter should know, since I'm sure you travel between Canada and Germany. But Invariably what happens when you're exposed to different germs, you're going to get things you're not used to. Like in our case, it was when we used to go to Disney all the time. I'd say every other time I went to Disney, I would end up getting a common cold. No big deal, but it was just because I was exposed to germs from different people from different countries, and either people that were from New York or South America or somewhere that the germs were different than what we're used to. Okay, so we got these guys all set. I didn't have any trouble, but the Army gives you plenty of shots. Oh, thank you for your service, Kevin. They didn't want me. They said, nah, your skin's too dry for us. Oh well. Probably did me a favor. You don't think it at the time, but I'm not one to think positively all the time, but I think that's probably pretty positive. That I'm glad I didn't go into the service because I'm not really one for doing stuff just because or get you worn out just so you don't cause trouble. Hey, lock me up in a room and give me some paints. I'll be right here when you come back for me. I am not a problem child. Leave me alone and we'll get along just fine. All right. I know I put some of this on the palette, but I'm not really happy with it. I'd hate to... Oh, this already has some splatter on there. All right, we'll go ahead and dry brush on here. I didn't want to... Even though this is free cardboard, I didn't want to have to look at this stain for a while. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that. We're just going to dry brush the chainmail. Now, I really like minifigs figures, but the chainmail is not very deep. So it's kind of tricky doing this and having any kind of black at all left over when you dry brush. Just the minifigs. That's really my only gripe with them. And then a lot of their molds are, they've made a lot of castings out of their molds, and some of them just have a lot of flashy. There you go. That's too much. We're probably going to run some Nuln Oil over this and give it a little bit more depth. But the chainmail on these minifigs is very, very, very light. Okay, there's one. See if you got any of this left in here that we can... You definitely want to do this first because of the over... And all I'm doing is you look at the top of this, I'm just grabbing the paint from there from the top anyways. So you're not supposed to use the paint out of the lids. Screw you, pal. It's my paint pot. I do however I want. Oh. Don't tell me what to do, especially in this day and age. The more things people tell you what to do, I'm like, eh. I was thinking about maybe not doing it, but now I'm going to do it. What to do. I don't tell little people what to do because I know they're not going to listen to me, and it's just the principle of it. I believe in free will, so, as long as you're not... as long as you're not taking somebody's... You can do whatever you want, as long as you're not inflicting on somebody else's pursuit of happiness and freedom. You can do whatever you want. But I'd be a terrible Jehovah's Witness. I'd be like, I'm not going to knock on people's doors. They can go to hell if they want to. You know, I don't need to convert people. You know, you watch this show and you don't play DBA. That's cool. You don't have to play DBA. We're just hanging out together. Lots of people out there want to convert other people, and this doesn't work. It's not worth it. Okay. That's done. Hey, how about we go back in time a little bit and take a look at how that JS2 turned out? I think it's dry now. What do you think? Let's see. Take a look at it myself, and I haven't gotten a good look at it. So this is after putting the glaze on there with the brown. Now, I know it's bright as shit because it's shiny, but let's take a look at the undercarriage part and see what we got here. Obviously, we haven't done any dry brushing. But this is what I was talking about when you use this glaze and how it's really, really flat. I don't know if you can tell, but sometimes you don't get the best. The video doesn't bring everything to life as much, but it's a lot browner than it looks on the video. But this is the glaze on, and then we're going to dry brush on top of that. And then let's take a look at the turret. We're going to redo the numbers so they're a little brighter, so they're a little thicker. But this is what we're looking on the Yosef. So anyhow, this will be our bottom layer of the dirt, and then we'll dry brush on top of it. It's going to have a light finish on it, nothing too thick. Still want it to be green, similar to how this 230-45 is. Okay, I did the same type of thing with the glaze on it, just using it instead of an enamel wash. So yeah, we'll come back to mess with it when we need to. But the priority is doing the 15s. The 20s, I'm just kind of doing them because, you know, I got them, and I may get around to playing a game or something like that sometime in the future. Minifig still in business. They are. The last time I ordered from them was, oh my gosh, it may have been like 2011, 2012. And their molds were really, really, really flash. They had a ton of flash. They've cast a lot of figures out of a lot of their molds. But yeah, they're still around. It was a big to do, and I don't want to get into the politics or the backstory of it. But what I understand it is there was a guy that was casting some of their figures, and they got the molds back and they sold them to a new owner or something like that. There was a period there where you couldn't get a hold of them. It seemed like you couldn't get a hold of them. They were cast in the States, or maybe it was only certain molds, and I don't know, but that was before 2011, 2012, something like that. Okay, let's go back to these guys here. Okay, there's no chainmail on the horses. Okay. So we're of course going to paint these guys one at a time because you don't get anywhere if you don't do it that way. Or at least I don't get anywhere if I don't do it that way. Let's pick out some brushes that we're going to kick some ass with. How about that? All right, we can do better than that. I got to start using some of these brushes so we can get rid of all these damn Chinese brushes and we can get some better ones. I may just get tired of them and just snap them all in half and throw them in the garbage can, but I haven't gotten irritated with them enough for that. You know, it's a shame that folks that are out in that country. There was a little bit of hope happening to them about a couple of years ago, and then they unleashed the COVID on them, and that pretty much shut them the hell up. So hopefully they get another chance soon. I don't really follow current events, so I know the last time I checked on that thing, the UK government was going to give the people in Hong Kong citizenship, or they wanted to leave, and I don't know what ended up. Hell, that was probably a year ago. But hopefully those folks get some freedom sometime in their life. Okay. So we know the shield is going to be red. Let's start off with an off-white for this guy's vestments. I don't know. He's got like a long shirt and his arm. So we're going to do the skirt and the shirt that's protruding below the chainmail as well in the same color. All right. Yeah, I changed my mind. Let's use this color, dark blue, gray. That's how I roll, man. Don't have any definite plans. And if Americans or Brits live in a foreign country, they're expats, but other nations are foreigners. I find that interesting. Huh? If Americans or Brits live in a foreign country, they're expats, but other nations. So people from other nations are foreigners. I find that interesting. So if you have a British or an American that say retires to Italy, they're considered expats. But if someone from Italy retires in the United States, they're considered foreigners. I think that's what you're getting at. Well, that's all semantics, isn't it? My only problem with people from another country, and it's not the people, but if you come from a country that you're leaving because you don't like the conditions that you live under, and there's a lot of countries that would fit that bill, in my opinion. So if you're, we'll use Germany for example. Well, that's probably not a good example, but if you're German and you leave Germany because you're tired of the German shit that they're giving you, and you move to Canada, hey, let's use your example. And then you go to Canada and then you end up voting for all the same programs that cause all the same problems that caused in Germany, that caused you to leave. You're kind of suffering from some illness. You know what I'm saying? So if you leave Mexico to come here and then you want to vote for a bunch of laws that create conditions like they are in Mexico that cause you to leave, doesn't make any sense. There's an article that came in. I don't know how accurate it is because we're all being fed a bunch of crap all the time, which is why I don't really follow the news. But it seemed to make sense. Several years ago, they ran an article where people from the Northeast of the United States, that for those of you that do not know what that's like, that is more restrictive than the South. Let's put it that way. they were moving from the Northeast into, say, North Carolina, which is halfway between halfway down, because they couldn't live with all the laws and stuff they had passed in the North. But then turning around and voting and trying to implement the same kind of stuff that caused them to leave in the first place. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, because it's not really what I do for a living, is follow the travel of people moving from one part of the United States to another. But if that's the case, that really doesn't make any sense. But, a lot of people, many people from all walks of life are very short sighted. So that wouldn't surprise me. So, and, then also the folks that are in charge like to keep us all divided. And if we all knew how the sausage was being made, oh, it wouldn't be pretty. Never thought about that expatriates thing, though. I don't see myself ever retiring in another country. I just don't see it. Visiting other countries, I'm even before this pandemic thing. Visiting other countries, absolutely. Living in another country, retiring, I just I don't see it. I'm used to too many things that are here. Now, I'll tell you one thing I don't like about this country. Well, there's many things I don't like, but I'm not knocking it, just being honest. It's honesty hour with Tony. It's not true, it's more than an hour. And this is also the reason I don't like to play Americans in games. I don't feel like this country has a good identity. And maybe our identity is that we used to have things from every other culture, but, you know, I just don't feel like and I'm not saying it necessarily from the standpoint that it needs to have one, but like if I was going to Greece, the whole reason to go to Greece is you're a different country and it's Greek. It's not a melting pot. I don't know if that makes any sense. No. But it's kind of cool that a country can have its own identity. Or it used to countries used to have their own identity. Who knows if that's all just being kind of gone the wayside. Every day we travel, everything becomes more homogenized. But so to give you an example, I've been to Puerto Rico a few times, and the thing I dislike about Puerto Rico, well, there's a few, but one thing I dislike about Puerto Rico is it doesn't feel like I'm in another country. It just feels like I'm in Miami. So it loses the appeal of going to visit a different place when my cell phone works there perfectly, for instance. So um, it'd be like going to Mexico and it feels like East LA. Not that I know what that feels like, but I'm just saying, it's good to go to a different, exposed to different things. I don't know. That was my ramble. All right, who'd I piss off? Oh man, never heard of expatriates. Okay. Let's lighten this up a little bit more, do a little bit of contrast. Sometimes you got to paint in some of these details because some of these folds, some figure manufacturers make them to scale, which of course means you can't see them or you won't see them at a distance. So you kind of have to create them yourself. So one of my favorite parts of figure painting is this stage I'm doing right now where I'm creating folds that aren't there. This, I kind of enjoy that. There's a happy little crinkle right here. Johann, don't iron your clothes. It's more interesting when there's crinkles. I know, I butchered that, but I did a lot better than most Americans, so that's good enough for me. All right, that part's done. We got a belt. We got a crossbow bolt carrier. Okay. We have leggings. Let's do those off-white. Why? Because it's right here. And somebody's going to have off-white leggings. Might as well be this guy. But we're going to do something different. We're not going to use black because that's extra lazy. We're going to get old. The SS Camel Brown, which is a very dark brown, and we're going to use that as the mixer. And this is an alternative for black for the mix in. Oh, that's not where you put paints. Let's not get creative and find new places to put paints. So my cell phone works exactly the same prices in all of Europe. Not sure about the UK now. So you're just burning minutes. That's good. Yeah, like as an outsider, I haven't traveled to Europe. I'm sure everything on the euro is a lot easier for travel. But I kind of missed it when all those countries had their own monetary system. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stupid, but that's one of your identity things, you know? Everybody using the same thing. Well, not everybody, most places. So, boy, this stuff's really thin. Must be because this SS camo got really thin. That must be the darkest color there on their palm tree camo or something like that, where they decided to call it that. SS camo black. It's not black at all. It's a dark brown. Okay. There we go. Lighten that up a little bit. The other thing is the way that I paint. It's not intentional, but even if it comes out thin, it's going to end up being thin on the top parts, the raised areas, which are the areas that are naturally going to get another coating. So I guess it isn't a problem. That just kind of happened. That's not by design or anything. So okay, I think that'll work. And let's go ahead and do the fleshy parts of this guy, the fleshy bits. Oh boy, Australian Greg. First of the crossbow figures. I see you located the cat. I did. You still have tons of Deutschmarks. Huh. Different monetary systems were a pain. If I drove to the UK, I needed 4 currencies for a 6-hour trip. You can still bring Deutschmarks to the bank, but you know that. Okay. Banks have ripped you off with every exchange conversion you needed, and you ended up with small change and 3 or more currencies. When you guys travel to Greece, say from Germany, does your euro have more purchasing power in Greece or not really? So, for instance, if you buy a candy bar, I don't know why the hell you would do that, but that cost a euro in Germany, does it? Can you get 2 of them for that in Greece, or it's kind of standardized? Trip to Greece too expensive. Well, for us, and it's also verboten now until it gets all squared away. And we were just getting ready to go to Europe for the first time in 2020. Oh well. I would have just gone and not run into any gamers anyway, so no big loss. It would have just been interesting to see how different it actually was to what I was expecting. And I'm sure it would have been different. Not necessarily worse or better, just different. Boy, there is just a freaking mess here. Let's get some of this crud off there. Now, even with a wet palette, you still end up wasting a lot more paint than you use in this scale, anyways. No, we're not ready for that yet. You got to put the base color first. That's black and this red leather. Know what I'm telling you guys. You guys know that. Looking forward to painting some non-light skinned people because you get to use different colors to mix up their skin. Mix it up a little bit. The most difficult thing, for me at least, to travel to say somewhere where, like Europe, pre-pandemic, is time off and jet lag. You know, that 6 or 7 hour jet lag, and then just being off enough time from work, doing that much stuff at work ahead of time to take off the time to fix it all when I get back is just, I couldn't take 2 weeks off in a row right now. Maybe in 2009 I could have, but our economy's cranking too much, or at least the construction is cranking too much in this country. So, and you know, we don't get enough vacation time as it is here in the States. So, unless you're working at some place that has Uber benefits. But in some of those places, they have the workers so many benefits, they ended up freaking shutting the place down because they can't balance their books and stuff. So, Guinness in Ireland after a 5 mile journey is more expensive than in Germany. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. I'm not doubting it's true. You should know. You got front row tickets, but some things are just stupid. You know, that's why I could never be in politics. Some things are just dumb as hell. We talked about this before. I live in Florida. We have lots of produce here. The fact that I gotta buy tomatoes from Canada is just dumb. It's just dumb as hell. I got no. It's it's just the distance. It's not the fact that they come from Canada. You know, it's dumb to pay for that freight. It's wasteful. Uh, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. Uh, been to Greece, Germany, Belgium, France, and Netherlands, and having only one currency was a boon. You know, it's like if you go to New York City, it's beneficial that it's impossible to travel there with a vehicle of your own if you're a local. But it's great if you're a traveler because there's the many methods of transportation and you're no worse off than the people that live there. So, but I don't want to live somewhere. It's too inconvenient to have a vehicle. No thanks. Traveling outside the EU zone meant that we had to have Swiss francs and British pounds. Okay. I assume the Swiss currency is really stable. I would think they don't have a lot of outside forces. Yeah. Hey, they can make it through World War II and keep on clicking. So they're doing something right. And World War One. Let's not forget that one. Let's move to this brush. See if we get a little bit better. Beer prices in Germany is determined by local suppliers. If Guinness wants to sell, they have to be competitive. Guinness is in most of Ireland is a monopoly. That's true. Monopolies are bad. Monopolies are bad. For the consumer, anyways. Everything in New York is too expensive. Yep. Best chocolate was in Belgium. It was made by Leonidas. Greek name chocolate in Belgium. Okay. Spartan chocolate. You know, chocolate is like pizza. Everybody likes different kind. I'm not a big chocolate person. I'm almost borderline, like, don't even like it. Borderline. There's chocolate brands I like, but most chocolate I do not like. It's too bitter. I don't like chocolate that's bitter. And yes, it can be too sweet also, but I never have it. But um, yeah, that dark chocolate, that's for the birds. It's like eating dirt. But some people like that. But it's something, if somebody said, hey, you can never have chocolate again, I'd be like, okay, when do we start? It's not that big a deal for me, you know? So, um, not really my thing. I don't really have, I don't have sugary things. Like, I'll have a meal and it's like, okay, what's for dessert? I'm perfectly happy eating an apple, you know? I'm fine eating fruit for dessert. So for the longest time, I would paint one figure to make sure that it turned out okay, and then paint the rest. And then now I'm like, I'm just going to paint one figure at a time because I want to have something to show for it. I don't want to wait 4 times as long before I see one figure completed. It makes my motivation to paint better when I can see the completed results sooner rather than later. Okay. Well, this guy's going to have a blonde beard. I guess he's got a beard, not a very heavy one. Maybe it's just a mustache. No. Are there blonde people in Germany? Have blonde people in Germany come back? I mentioned somebody in a post the other day. They didn't comment on it or whatever. They posted something about St. Patrick's Day. And then I said, I made some kind of a comment like, you can thank my people for, and I had a picture of a galleon crashing on the rocks. Said, you can thank my people in 1588 from keeping you to just, from keeping you from being just another ginger. I don't know exactly how many guys of the Armada survived crashing on shore and took a liking to redheaded girls in Ireland, but it'd be interesting to find out. I know there's some dark-haired people in Ireland already, but hey, it's the thought that counts. What color are we using here? Gold brown. Okay. We need, this is already watery. We need a base color. It's not so damn watery. We're gonna have a mess on our hands. Let's see if we can. Remember, every town had its own brewery. Awesome. Germany got me hooked on Rittersport. That sounds like a deodorant brand. Need to clear out my web pile today after finishing my Plantagenet project, starting to develop mold, and the parchment paper was completely covered. Shazli Aziz, welcome. Oh, it's got little hearts with little Swiss symbol on it. That's cool. Oh, what did I hear the other day? I heard some pun and I thought it was really funny. No, it was a comment somebody made about Switzerland, about something about Switzerland, like said something positive about Switzerland. And their flag is a plus too, is a plus also. Like I forget exactly what he said, like, the the views are beautiful or whatever. I don't think that's exactly what they said, but they made some kind of something positive about Switzerland and said, and their flag is a plus too. And I'm like, I love that. And of course, I told my daughter about it, and she's like, that's so corny, Dad. I said, yeah, but it caught me off guard. Hey, I got one of them. I like Swiss Army stuff. So watches. So I love watches, but I don't want an expensive watch because I can't stand having something expensive and you're careful with it and it still gets damaged. Like this phone. I got this phone a year ago. It's got scratches on the front and I'm careful with it. There's nothing you can do about it. Just shit happens. And it's frustrating to spend a lot of money on something and not be careful with it. So for my wedding, we'd gotten ourselves some Swiss Army watches, all steel and sleek. Not not super expensive, but still, a couple $100. And the mechanism on mine stopped working. I took it to a shop, and they're like, "Oh, you need a whatever replaced." It almost costs as much as a new watch. So I'm like, "Okay, well that's fine. I won't do that." But I always wanted to get one of these, like for work. This is just a standard Swiss Army. watch or whatever. Well, this model isn't made anymore. I forget what it's called, but it's not made anymore. It's like $100 watch or something like that when it was new. So I went on eBay and picked one up that was used for, yeah, $30 or something like that. Change the battery. I change batteries on all my stuff all the time and works fine. But then I didn't want to bring that one to work because I work in construction and it gets scratched up and stuff. So I found another one, same watch, that has more scratches on it. You see? Let's see if you can get in the light here. None of them are deep, but just little scratches. I think I paid like $20 for it. Same watch, and I wear this one all the time. I don't care if it develops any other scratches. So I bought it already with scratches, so I'm okay with it. But just to buy like one of those iWatches that costs $400, no, no. I appreciate them, but just being careful, things happen, and it's extremely, you know, it's extremely frustrating to have things like that happen. Maybe it's because when I first moved out, I really did not have much money at all. So I kind of appreciated taking care of things. Look, my cutting mat doesn't get cut on, and I didn't even pay for it. So try to take care of the things you have. Um, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, I buy used watches. But I do like the style of the Swiss. Not all of them, but some of them. Um, put the face on the inside of your wrist. No, and I don't wear a pinky ring either. No. Going to be doing some train upgrades. I picked up some pre-made hills really cheap that'll upgrade. Awesome. Those are fun to do. Those are fun to do. Is that why people wear watches on the inside of their wrist? That's just awkward looking. Oh well. Now, I think I got a good thing going. Buy a work watch. And I think I've replaced the battery in this thing probably 3 times over the last 5 years or so. Maybe not three, maybe twice. So I ended up getting one of those how to change watch repair kit type things. So I can pretty much do, unless the computer, the main, well, we'll call it the computer. The main thing in the watch is bad. I can't do all that stuff. But yeah, I didn't realize that was the reason people wore their watch on the inside. I just thought there was something wrong with them. I'm gonna be in a lot of fun the rest of my life. I can tell. I'm a set in my ways kind of person. The Sandman is here. Oh, knock knock. Happy kangaroo dreams to you. It's a little sprig of a mustache this guy's got. I really do like doing faces. It just brings this guy to life. It's like you're done with the face. Oh, it's a person. Got it. For the longest time, all the things I would paint was machines, whether it was tanks or ships or anything like that. So you put a face on this guy and you're good. All right. We got a crossbow to do. Yeah, those guys don't paint quick because they got lots of little accoutrements on them. Marcin, good morning, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, good afternoon. It's lunchtime, something like that. It's always lunchtime for me. I need to move to a country that the food's terrible. I won't eat so much. Where's that? That Scotland? Or I should say, what Western country is there that the food is terrible? Because there's lots of places, you know, there's lots of places not in Europe, but what European country has terrible food? Oh, that's it. We're gonna start a flame war. Let's get a cover here. We're gonna use for the wood, not field drab. Where's that monster brown? I gotta use up this army painter stuff. Here we go. We'll use this as the wood color on the crossbow. So I feel like one of the things that's the most miscast on miniatures is crossbows. I think Essex uses the same damn shape of crossbow for everything, and a lot of other people just make them really misshapen. Seems like. So, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but breakfast in Germany. Yuck. What do they eat for breakfast? I don't know. I don't know that any place has better breakfast than here. I'm just used to what we have. Go check out my breakfast picture there on the community site, whatever. This breakfast place we have here called Kiki's, and they've got a, and that's just a special breakfast. I don't have that every morning. My breakfast every morning is, what is it? A banana, a yogurt, and then 3 boiled eggs. Yeah, which aren't boiled. We put them in the air fryer, but that's how it is. That's what I eat for breakfast every day. Unless it's a special occasion, I go out with a daughter or something like that for breakfast. But as much as I'd love to eat bacon every day for breakfast, it doesn't happen. I do need to stay alive here a few more years, so. Right. So let's get some black here and this monster brown. Yep, don't start the breakfast war again. It's okay to have a discussion. If you like other things, look, if you like to eat food I don't like, that's perfect. We make a good team. You eat all the slop I don't like, you know? That's a good combination. Why should we all be fighting over the same thing? If you eat breakfast at a hotel in Germany, it's always the same: buns and cold cuts and eggs. That doesn't sound that bad. Buns, I assume you mean bread. I probably can't afford to stay at a hotel in Germany. Man, hotels everywhere other than the United States that I've been in, holy crap. I mean, the prices for hotels in like even big cities here and like in Europe, it's like, holy crap. That's crazy. like, I'll just sleep in my car, thanks. And get wipies. Was fed by Germans. There was this banana pudding, tasted like peel was in it. The best breakfast buffet I ever had was in Tel Aviv. Since they had guests from all over the world, you had a choice from kippers to dates to cornflakes. Okay. Tel Aviv's on the coast, isn't it? I think so. If it's not, it's probably not far. You know, the names of things get mispronounced all the time. I've never heard someone call Tel Aviv something other than Tel Aviv. I'll give them that. It's not like somebody's going around going, "Yeah, I went to Tel Aviv." I like breakfast. It's definitely the meal that stays with you the least. So after a couple hours, I don't care what I eat. I'm ready to eat again. Well, the problem with this wood color, it's really close in color to the skin. That's a shame. Now, if I don't like it, I'll just repaint it. It's not like this part's difficult. Next time I go to that place in Tampa, that German pub, restaurant, or whatever, I'll take some pictures and show you German guys. I know it doesn't look probably like real Germany, but it does to us, and it just takes you somewhere else. That's a really cool place. Yeah, they got like this beer hall thing. It's kind of small, but it has a great atmosphere. Makes you want to. I always told Mitch, I said that'd be a great place to. He would fall in love with that place if you went there. That'd be a good place to have like a gaming convention. All right, let's do some highlighting on here and see if we can get this to look a little bit less like flesh. Draw wood grain in here like there is some. Okay. So one of the things that I'm painting, when I'm painting that I dislike is picking this figure down and picking another one up. And if I stay on one figure, I don't have to do that. That's not the main culprit of why I do what I do, but all right, I think everything else is metallic. Let's get our little metal friend over here and not pour any out. I probably shouldn't have done that either. Location and expectation. Yeah, when I travel, I expect the food to be not to my liking, and then I'm okay with it, because I actually have a, I like most things. Um, if it's not meat, like there's weird meats I'm not going to eat, but that's okay. I like all my vegetables, fruits, etc. So I can always find something to eat. Um, Best breakfast in Mexico and Vietnam. Vietnam. Yeah, I'll have to ask Mitch about that. He went there. Not on my list of places to go to. Um, Banana pudding in Germany has appeal. Okay. There's also something called Braunschweig. Double yuck. Worst breakfast for me was in Bolivia. Had to eat on a bus depot fried egg with biscuits. Sydney, Australia, I had an orange juice and it cost me $10, and that was 30 years ago. Well, you bought it. You're amazed Europeans seem to hate root beer. We love it. I think it's too sweet, but I like the taste of root beer. So, root beer is actually a really good mixer with but I would say diet root beer because it's just way too sweet with whiskey or something like that. But it's way too, man, it's just way too sweet. Um, but there's people out there that like black licorice, and I'd punch somebody in the face if you had to eat some black licorice. So, um, Germans think that root beer is beer, so they're not pleasantly surprised. There you go. Well, yeah, the beer wars. Forget breakfast wars, beer wars. The, the people in England and the people in Germany the people in England think that their beer doesn't stink. I don't know. I mentioned that to somebody the other day. I said, a guy was in England talking about how there's beer, this, and that, and the other. I said, hey, next time you want good beer, we'll have the Luftwaffe drop some off next time they're over England. England has the miniatures, Germany has the beer, in my opinion. And yes, not all German beer is good, and some British beer isn't bad. Yeah, I like pretty much beer from anywhere, but they seem to like that bitter stuff. I don't, it's not like my beer's got to be sweet, but what did I do wrong? Why do I gotta put down this nasty? What did I have the other day that was superb? Well, it wasn't the other day, several years ago. I think I had a Guinness Blonde. That was amazing. That was really good. I like everything. I just like giving them shit. I think their shit doesn't stink. There's good beer everywhere, even some in this country. Maybe not the stuff you've heard of, but The first time I had ever had a bratwurst, or in hot dog type style here in the States, I had one of those white ones. No, never again. I'm not eating that. Maybe that was just one style of one, but that thing was nasty. So sausage stuff is all over the place. Some stuff is amazing, and some stuff is like, who would eat this? But maybe it's just what you're used to. Like I said, if you like it, perfect. It's more for you. You love black licorice. See, there you go. You can have my share. I don't go out and buy sweets anyway, so. Okay, so this guy is so far. I'm dying to do the shield, but I'm going to build up to it. Let's give him some. Let's give him a belt and a little crossbow bolt holding thingy. Yes, that's the technical term. That's what it's called. Crossbow bolt holding thingy. Let's get a leather-ish color. Lots of people like different stuff. We were just talking about it the other day about hunting. I've never gone hunting. Lots of people wanted to go hunting, but asked me to go, but I'm like, I'm not interested. And I just don't think deer is worth eating. And some people are like, you're crazy. I said, well, maybe I haven't had it right, but I've had it a few times. I don't think it's worth eating. It's too gamey. I'm not interested in gamey tasting things. I'd be perfectly fine not eating meat if it's all going to taste gamey. More deer meat for you. Perfect. We make a good team. Now, I'll eat it if I had to, but given a choice, I'd have something else. Now, I know the fact that these crossbowmen, the fact that they have this big shield on their back really makes no difference, but the description said it was crossbowmen with that had a pavis on it. So I might as well use the ones that have that type of a shield, just for yucks. Doesn't really make much of a difference. I try to use what the list says I'm supposed to when I can, if it makes sense. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter what they have on there. What army am I doing? I am doing a few elements for my medieval Germans that will convert them to be 3.0 compatible, because right now it's a 2.2 army. And good old minifigs, old school stuff. So I've got a crossbow stand I'm working on, and then I've got a cav stand to do, and might even sneak in a war wagon in there. And then we can leave these Germans and go on to something else. Probably the Russians. Finish up my my early Russians that I've got probably 7 night figures to paint and then base them all. I've got, is it 5 stands of nights that they need? They need 5 stands of night, which is 15, and I've got 5. Maybe I need to paint 10. Anyhow, I got all the figures picked out and everything. I ran out of time when I was building that army, so I I kind of used them unfinished and substituted the Ostrogoth Knights for them and won a tournament with them. And they just kind of lost interest in painting them since I'd already played with them. That's the problem with playing with things ahead of time. Is it's like, I've already played with them. It was like 2 or 3 years ago when that happened. So I'm gonna try and bring them back to where they need to be. Okay, I think we've waited long enough. It's time to do this Pavis or big shield thing. Pavises come in all kinds of sizes. So your early Imperial Romans and all Celtic armies are old minifigs. So the only problem with minifigs is they have pose variety issues, but you can mix them in with other things. And there's some poses you don't mind. I wouldn't mind them all being the same pose. Like for instance, Romans, if I was doing Romans, I'm perfectly fine with all of them being in the same pose. Celts not so much. But I gotta use the little boys' room. I'll be right back, folks. Okay. So the next thing coming up is the shield. And we're gonna have the Regensburg symbol on it. And if you look it up, I looked it up a little while ago before I went online, just as a refresher. It's 2 keys crossed like this. Okay, of course they got the, whatever the end of the key looks like. But at the end of each one of them, and I already did it wrong. If I'm going to draw 2 cross keys, I'm going to draw it like this, right? A type of a symbol like this. The problem is every version you see of these keys is like this. The handle part is almost like a diamond shape, which looks wrong to me. It almost looks like a Native American type symbol, but we're going to go with it. If I don't like how it looks, then I'm going to make the end circular. Okay, so that's one of those artistic licenses that I like to call. But first thing we want to get is we want to get the red in there. We want to get the darkest shade of red. We're going to paint the entire shield in that color. And that will be, and then on top of that, we'll do the key. Get it where we need and then bring the rest of the red up to where it needs to be. So let's look at our reds. We don't want to use the flat red one. Okay, because it's going to turn pinkish a little bit. And I don't want that on this particular figure. So what do we got left? We got scarlet, which is a little bit more orange, or just the one that's called red. Right, that's the one. I got three and I use them all. And sometimes if I'm doing if you look at my Hungarians, the base on one of the shields is one red. The base on the other shield with the stripes is a different one. I didn't want to use the same one just for variety. I just figured they were painted at two different places and they had different red paint. So that's my story. Okay, so put some red down there. It's one thing, if you come from a background of painting World War II stuff, it's kind of exciting to paint red things because you never get a chance to. So. Yeah, that's good. You can see the difference here. Maybe you can see the difference. It never comes out right on the video. It's more noticeable than it seems on that video. The difference between the two. Whatever style we use for these keys, it's going to be the same among all of the figures. Oh, I didn't check this when I came back. I'm sorry. Wasn't Germany split up into principalities in the Middle Ages? Oh yeah, all kinds of city-states and principalities and princedoms and, free cities. It was a big smorgasbord of a soup sandwich. Okay. All right, so that's good for the base color. Okay, so now we're going to paint the key on that carefully. This is the part that stresses everybody out, and I find empowering. Let's get us a brush that we can count on. And it may be the one that I was using. It's just fine. I don't want to break another one in. Like the second. This one might be good. Let's take a look at this guy. Oh, there is another one down here that I've already used. Oh yeah, that's the one. Now, sorry, it doesn't even matter what number it is. This one happens to be a 0 round, but it doesn't mean anything. It actually looks like a liner, to be honest with you. Okay, so let's, this is going to be the miracle stuff there. Let's get some white over here. And some black. Because I want to do it in gray. Yeah, like this. Just to make sure that I get it where I need it. This works really well for to keep the brush from sticking when you're trying to paint a design. Okay, so we just want to pace ourselves. So they're going to be crossed. They're going to be crossed at a narrow angle, and we're just going to see if we can, let's see if we can do this. For those of you that are interested, I know some of you guys are just listening to me, and that's cool too, but maybe somebody will find some value in this stuff I do. Okay, so we're going to cross. I don't want the top of the key. Probably there is about fine on both. So we're going to go like so. And then the key portion is going to be down in here. Okay, the key's actually going to be in this zone, the end of it. So they're going to cross here, huh? Okay, so that's basically the shape that we got. This is experimenting. I may get it wrong, but you want to kind of put the armature, so to speak, the design down before you commit. So we're going to come over here and go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to come over here and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we got this. This is easy as shit to do, folks. You just got to be careful, and you got to have a brush, man, that you can count on. It's amazing. That makes a big difference. You want to make sure this doesn't stick. I'm not necessarily worried about this covering well. I'm making sure it's almost kind of like I'm putting it down on with pencil. Okay, so let's build up this key. The end of the key is going to be here. The other part's going to be about there. So about here and about there. Okay, and I look at it and I'm like, okay, do I like where that's proportionate? I'm like, yeah, I like that. Okay, so then we're going to come over here and let's fill in some of that. And then we can go in and say, yeah, I like how that turned out. Okay, and let's just build it up some more. Let's get a little bit more paint, make it a little lighter. Okay, and now now the hard part's done, because now you've pasted out how you want it. So you just come in here and go. I love, love, love painting heraldry. Okay, and then we do the same thing, add a little bit more white. Show you guys how we're doing here. And I'll probably stop one step from the final color white I'm going to use, and then go back and fill in all the red all the way to the top, and then do that very final white on it. And then blammo, we're done. See, that's sticking a little bit. Let's thin this down a little bit more. I couldn't even begin to tell you how much better this thinner works than water. It just really does work a lot better. Okay, so there you have the basic shape of the keys. All right, so now we're gonna go retire this brush for the time being, and we're gonna go ahead and do the rest of the shield. Yeah, this brush is kick-ass. So we'll only use that for special things. So let's go back to this one and back to our red. Didn't one German division use that symbol in World War II? Liebstandard Adolf Hitler used a key with the runes. And that has to do with the fact, I don't know if it was a double key. I'll have to look. That has to do with one of the commanders was Sepp Dietrich. And Dietrich means key in German, if I remember correctly. And I think that's where the tie-in is. But yeah, it was definitely an SS unit. I'll have to look. Cross keys. I bet there was one that used cross keys. I bet it was probably a unit that originated in Regensburg too. I mean, that would make sense. So we're just going to fill in all the areas. We're going to get close to that white, but not right up in it. Let's add some more red. This also keeps the paint from drying on the bristles as much. I mean, you can use water. I used water my whole life until maybe 2 years ago. They started using this stuff, maybe less than 2 years ago. But this stuff is the bomb right here. If you were to touch it and put it in between your fingers, it would feel almost like contact lens solution. It's lubricate-ish a little bit. It's luby. There you go. It's lubricacious. Okay, no, this thing is starting to take shape. Okay, let's keep bringing it up. Let's bring it to the pure red now. And again, I'm painting it thin, so there's still some of the color underneath that shows through. So the transitions are softer than they would be if I was, say, using like a 3-color method. This is just how I started. I've been painting for many, many years when they didn't have those 3-color things. And it works for me. Honestly, it's a fun part of it, doing this, the individual mixing however you want. It's just kind of, it's what I do. It's just part of the therapy. I enjoy it. Now we're going to come in here with this color and we're going to drop a little bit inside the middle of the key. Okay. See how we're doing so far. And now we're going to add some lightener. Now, normally you could use yellow or white. White makes it turn a little pinkish, but it has been in the sun. So how about we split the difference and end up using something like, not that one. I can't see. Ice yellow. Okay? Something in between the two. Not yellow, not white. Let's see what happens. Oh, this one. This one is sitting on a shelf so long that the top of it rotted off. I don't know how plastic could rot, but it sat there long enough for that to happen. All right. This is not a popular color. All right, so we're going to come over here to our red, get some more of it out there, and grab some of this yellow color. And oh yeah. Maybe put in some stripes in there, like they painted the wood grain. You guys have painted something with wood grain, and then you notice that the wood grain pops through almost because it keeps the paint keeps soaking into the pores of the wood. All right, we're going to do more of that. Let's get in here with this. You guys ever had this moment? I do all the time, it seems like, where I'm like, I need to quit my day job, man. Like, I should be doing this more often. And doing things with wood grain like this is just one of those like empowering feelings that is just like, a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. And a lot of this, I don't think this is hard at all. You just have to be persistent and then just realize that you're not going to get it all in one pass. You're going to have to come up and you're going to tinker with it. And then eventually you'll get it to where you want it to be. I'll have you guys take a look at it here in a second. Now, let's move this because we don't want to drop in this pot of paint. I'm really happy with that. Really, really happy with that. Uh-oh, I got some questions. Ruler of the people, keeper of the keys, lockpick. Okay. Justin, good morning. What does your wife think of your hobby? Mine says it keeps me out of the pub when the pubs were open, that is. So here's the reality of my hobby. As far as hobbies, it's really cheap. If she was awake, she could hang out in the room here with me. And, it, it's not like I have to go hide in a corner to do it. She's supportive of it. It's better than just about any other hobby as far as I'm concerned. It's stress relieving. It's better than playing video games where you get angry. I don't get angry doing this. This is therapeutic, so yeah. And I'm not buying stuff all the time. I mean, I've got everything that I need. I got a lot of it. It really, you know, the only reason I kept buying it is I go to a flea market and stuff, and like I'm not leaving that for $1. So I don't spend a lot of money on my hobby. And yeah, she's supportive of it. She says I don't get enough sleep, which is probably right. But sleeping's a waste of time, as far as I'm concerned. Let's I'm gonna put a little bit more of this paneling on this one side. Make sure I don't F it up. She's due to take a girls' trip with my daughter for her spring break at the first of right around just before Easter. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do a shitload of painting. At least that's what my plan is. So this is a really good hobby. It really is. Okay, so I'd call this done. I'd call that shield done. Now I can probably match all the other shields. They are hand painted. So with the brushes that these folks had back then, I mean, you had guys that were professional painters that had good brushes, but the guys that are painting these shields aren't Michelangelo isn't painting shields. It's just numbnuts type people. So the brushes that they had probably wouldn't be that good. So we need to put a scabbard on this sword, and then do some shoes, crossbow bolts, and in the back of the shield, and then this guy's done. Now we are going to go ahead and let's go ahead and drop some Nuln oil on this guy. That's going to take some time to dry. I'm going to do that on his helmet, so that gives us a little bit more depth than when we come in and highlight. I'm just going to drop it evenly over the entire helmet. Want to make sure we don't ruin the face and have to redo it. Okay. It makes a little bit of a difference, but start adding all those little bits together. And I'm going to be lazy. We're going to put the fletching on the crossbows in white. That's what I usually use. It's right here. Fletching? Is that what it is? Words I know but never use. See, we'll just do 2 colors on this. See, this isn't necessary to have all that. The shield had, how many shades did we have on there? A lot. This stuff is just 2. So it just depends on what exactly I'm painting and how big it is. Back of the shield, I'm fine using the same brown I already have out here. And this is going to be pretty dark. Could have just used one of them. All right. Now this is the same color I used for the crossbow. but we're not going to highlight it the same. We're not going to bring it up to speed in the same way. So it'll look like a different color brown. It's an optical delusion. You don't want to make it look like the figure you only have 3 colors in your repertoire, and makes it look boring. So let's coat everything in this gray brown color. And then we're going to come in, before we add any more core, we're not going to add any more core color. We're going to come in with a white and highlight it from there. So it's going to make it look grayish. That's all right. And we're going to pretend that there's some vertical detailing on that wood. Because why not? And then we're going to highlight one more, just to show you a little bit what we're looking at. Highlight one more. This is easy as shit, folks. You just got to stay with it. Attention to detail. Anybody that I've seen whose artwork is painting the next level up from mine, or 2 levels up from mine, I still know that they didn't cut any corners doing it. There's no easy way to get something that looks phenomenal. It takes a while. And maybe you want to put the time into it. Maybe you don't. They don't fight any better, but it's a lot more satisfying when you're done with them. Okay. I could have easily just not done that little wood detail, but I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. We got a scabbard for this guy. Okay. I do archery, another one of those words not often used, but is by us, is glean. Okay. My daughter took archery in 6th grade. So I went to the archery range several times, and at some ranges, I'm actually better with a bow than I am with a pistol. That's not saying a whole lot, but let's just put it this way. I was actually surprised how accurate it could be at, say, what would it have been? Maybe 15 yards. And it wasn't that I could hit, one thing in particular, but you could hit the size of a human body pretty regularly. Um, Obviously, I'm not being charged down by an armored guy on a horse, but it was, in some ways, it was easier than I expected it. It's just strange, you know? It was strange. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do this color. This will work. Yeah, she took that for 1 year, and then they discontinued that program at her school, which kind of sucked because it was kind of fun going and watching her compete. Not that I'm an uber competitive person. I can't stand kids sports when the parents are like total dicks. And they're like say if you're playing baseball or something, and they're like, their whole purpose in life is get this kid into the major leagues. Like, it's just a hobby, folks, and it's fun for team building and stuff, but it's not to make your living off that. Get your head out of the fantasy sand. What color was this that I picked? Oh, khaki? Oh, okay. Ka Kahaki. All right. We have a khaki colored scabbard. Get our dark shade on here. See, I was kind of like bummed out about this guy. Like, I wasn't excited about painting him. Now that I get to paint some kind of shields and stuff, oh yeah, that's the bomb. You can't do that with book one armies, folks. So I like that stuff. I like the heraldry. Love me some heraldry. And then we've got the part of the sword that you hit, that you hold. Oh man, I can never remember what the hell that thing's called. Is that the hilt? Anyways, it's over on this end. So let's give it some highlighting. And then the pommel, we will do it in my favorite color to do things, sword details. It is this Vallejo bronze. And this is the original one I have. So I painted all my Romans and stuff using it. I'm not a huge fan of Vallejo metallics. They get kind of goopy in their consistency, but I've had this one a long time and it's served me well. So we're just going to come in here. And paint the very tip of the sword, of the handle in that color. Okay. Now, we have another thing that's kind of a mystery item, and it's the thing that sits on his belt that allows him to crank up on the thing. I believe that's made of metal. We're going to paint it as if it is. I'm not going to seal these figures for a while, so I'll come back to it if it is not the case. But that's what we're going to go with right now. Here's the little crank thing. It hangs on his belt, and you use that to pull to cock the crossbow. Okay. And what else do we have on this guy? This is the same color that we used for the helmet after we put the Nuln Oil. So let's go ahead and refresh that. Let's refresh the spots there. Oh, we're going to need to put some of this stuff down. There we go. It's off to the side. You always wanted to do Teutonic Knight Army. You always like to use bronze on scabbard metal pieces. Yeah, it looks good. Let's paint around his helmet here. Refresh that. It's the same color that was on there before. Okay. But then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this one color up. So this is the darkest metal I have. Lead Belcher. So I paint the whole thing in that, except I leave a little bit of black, like where there's creases and stuff in the helmet. Then we paint the entire helmet on top with this Nuln Oil. So what I did is I created one shade darker than this one, which I can't get any darker because they don't make a darker metal. Okay. So then I highlight the places that aren't super dark with this. And now I'm going to go up one. And the color that's up one, I believe, is called, it's got some kind of orc name. Let's see what this orc name is. Ironbreaker. I would break you. That's a army painter mixing balls, having a ball in there, flopping around. We don't need much of this at all. Let's just bring some out. Close this thing back up. Okay, let's see what kind of consistency we're dealing with here. Way too thick. There we go. All right. And we're just going to highlight some areas that are a little shinier than the rest. Okay. Oh, he's going to have black shoes because I'm lazy on that. Now we already have a dark gray there. Okay. There you have it. Have you guys take a look here. So, in about 2 hours, I got this guy completely done, which is good time for me. But you guys help by hanging out with me. And something happens when I end up sealing this guy. It brings out the shield should look even better. You know, it brings more of the depth of that out. So, really happy with how you turned out. Hopefully these guys will fight worth a damn. Hey, I like crossbowmen. Okay, let's set this guy off to the side. Next. Now we just have to do that 3 more times. Piece of cake, right? He looks great, yes. We will name him Dita. Okay. Dita's a good German. Isn't there a movie called The Good German? I haven't seen it. Okay. All right. Next. Piece of cake. We have all day. There you go. I don't, unfortunately. I will in about 2 weeks. I think around the 30th or 31st. I will be batching it for a week. So I know I'm going to be getting some video gaming in. There's no doubt about that. But we're going to try to paint every night because that's good. That's good for mental workout. It's good to have that kind of therapy. You know, if I painted and things went wrong all the time, I probably wouldn't paint. But fortunately, that isn't the case. Okay. Next guy. So yeah, if I was painting them in assembly line, I wouldn't even be done with one figure, and I would be like, you know, it's hard to see, you know, how it turned out. I don't know. It's just me. I've tried it before. It doesn't work for me as well. I'm a lot happier painting one figure and then do another one and do another one. Okay, so that guy had like the blue cloth thing going on. So let's not do that with the next one. Let's use a let's use a yellowish type color with him. With this guy. What color are we going to use as a base? Say this one. What color is this? Desert yellow. I think this is one of the colors they recommend for German World War II tanks. It's funny. The dark yellow is not the right one. It's weird. It's a mess. It's a mess. I remember way back in the day, I would use the Tamiya dark yellow for it, and it was very greenish looking, but that's overkill. I'm sure we can use that for something else. See, here's the problem. You look over here on my table, and look what's assembled over here. We got all these paints that are now hanging out over here. Okay, so let's put some of these bastards away. We'll leave Mr. Bronze out here and put him over here. But if I don't clean that from time to time, I feel like I'm getting pushed into a corner. All right, so we're going to use a yellow type base color for. In case you guys are wondering, the daughter doesn't have any swimming today, so which explains why I didn't stop filming an hour and a half ago. Okay. This one. And let's use this SS Camo Black as a mix-in. All right. And we're going to paint everything in that color. I bet Mitch is still asleep. See, he could have gotten a whole figure done if he painted. Yes, yes, I'm hungry. Okay, that's done. It's the other reason I paint so thin. I don't ever have to stop for things to wait, you know. And if they blend in, that's fine. That works as well. So this is probably as light I'm going to go, and I'm going to add white to this at this point. So we're going to come in here and add some pretend textures. Most of the time it's actually not painting, it's trying to figure out what color to use. Or hemming and hawing, or changing what you're watching while you're painting. So that was the biggest difference, is making these type of videos like this keeps me from wasting all of that time, and I can just sit here and paint. Okay, now as promised, we're going to add a little bit of white, and white is very powerful. So you add too much, there's no going back. So Dunkel golden farb. Well, the dark yellow for the World War II is Dunkelgelb. That was the one I was referring to. I only know Blitzkrieg German. That means all the German words I picked up from doing World War II gaming. That's the only German I know. And we'll bring it up one more. See how I'm doing so far here. Not that noticeable. We need to get it to pop a little bit more, a little bit more contrast. And okay. Now, what did we do next? Because I like the order that I did them in before. I did the hose. Okay. This guy's got almost a white. Let's do a really wimpy white blue. Let's do that. When in doubt, use muted colors for these commoner type folks. Bright colors cost lots of money. What's going on? This guy's gonna have brown shoes, some type of brown shoe. Changed your mind about what the message was. Okay. Probably misspelled it. I've done that stuff before. I'll post something like, man, it's not what I wanted to type. Take it out. That's not how you type, asshole. Let me rewrite that and send it to you. All right. You were thinking of shades of brown. Oh, okay. And you guys watch our live session yesterday? Oh, well, you were there last night. Marco, good morning. You're in Texas, if I remember correctly. Do I use any kind of sealer? Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. So I use Model Master Gloss. So I'm done with this guy. Spray paint Model Master Clear Gloss. Let that dry. Model Master Clear Flat. Let that dry. And then at the very end, what I've started doing in the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've been using this brush on. Okay. It's Tester's Dull Coat. It's pretty thick. You can't, it's milky white. And this makes a huge difference. It's as flat as it could get. So I've got 3 clear coats on top of it. And the only trick with this one is that you need to make sure when you go over it, you go over it once. You can't go over it and then, oh, it's a little too thick, and because this gets tacky really fast, and you'll end up pulling the paint off, all of this paint that you did onto your brush, and go, no, So yeah, I actually got this idea from somebody else that I follow, and they use a brush on last, and I can't use the brand they use because they're in the UK, and but this is the closest equivalent, and I've been really happy with this. So I put that as a final coat on everything else, and it makes it very, very flat. So yeah, and it's all products that are available in the US. So the sealant that I use, the Model Master, is really expensive. I remember when it used to be $2.99 a can. I think it's up to like $6.99 a can. But I just don't want to cut corners on that, because if you use one that frosts or something like that, I don't have any issues with it. I've actually never had a frosting issue with any of my spray painting. I even spray paint in the garage. It's even been raining outside, and it's humid as hell in Florida. Never had an issue with it. Now, I'll mention it again. It may be because I'm not buying really cheap clear spray cans. And also, I leave the can out there. So the can is always at the same temperature that the mist is coming out in. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's not like I have it here in the air conditioning and then take it outside of the garage where, like your glasses, if you're wearing glasses, they would fog up. That doesn't happen. So maybe that's the reason why I've never had an issue with it. I just left them out there because I was lazy. And it's like, that's the next place I'm going to use them at. There's no point in doing that. Mine frosts when it's cold. I never had a problem even with the cold. I've never had it happen, ever. I know, you're jinxing yourself. I'm just saying it's never happened. I don't know. Maybe you're putting it on too thick. Maybe you've got bad spray. Maybe you're bringing it from one temperature into another one. So it's changing temperature at the same time it's coming out. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I can just tell you that I've never had a problem with it. So, oh well. So hopefully you guys won't have a problem with it either, because there's nothing worse than spending this much time on something and then it just goes, and it's not what you expected. So yeah, that was a really fun session last night, by the way. So you guys have any more of that stuff, make sure you put that in the comments section of that video, and we'll be happy to talk about any of this stuff. And you can watch me have a little bit of whiskey and Mitch have 8 beers. That's the problem with beer. If I have 2, I'm trashed. I could sip on whiskey all night and be fine. The beer is so much easier to drink. So you take like a big sip of it. The next thing you know, you drank the whole bottle and you know. Whereas whiskey, you can't take a big. Well, I mean, I guess you could, but you'd know it. It's not like it sneaks up on you. You bought some wood Litco bases last night. Excellent. Excellent. So the way I came across Litco is when I bought my first DBA Army, there was a vendor there that was selling them. And that was it. If they hadn't been there, I wouldn't have used Litco. I've been blessed that I've always used Litco from my first army on. And they're expensive, I'll be honest with you, but I don't have to worry about their stuff. I will tell you this, okay? I have noticed some of their stands have have gotten misshapen a little bit. I'm gonna have to pull one out. You know what? I'm at the end of this anyways. Let me go look at my stand and see if I can find an example of it. There's my bed. Let's look at one of my packs of, say, my 20 by, here we go. My 40 by 20s. They come all like this. Okay. Let's take a look at one of these. That's okay. I came across one that was misshapen. Ever so slightly. When you looked at the side of it, I can't give you an example here. It looked like, what's this one? It looked like it wasn't directly up and down. It was like oblong, a little bit of an angle. Very, very slightly, but you know, I'm doing this without glasses on, so I'm nearsighted, so I can see, you know, the pubic hairs on a fly, and I noticed that. Okay, this top one here. Look at this top one. I'm still going to use them. Look at this top one right here, and look at this corner over here. And see how it doesn't go straight out? It's a little wider here at the top than it is at the bottom. So, anyhow, I noticed that. Send them back and complain. Nah. I'm sure the machine they use is imprecise like that, but they smell good. Anyhow. Until about 4 years ago, I painted with my contacts in. So I'm painting in 20/20 vision. The last 4 years, it's after 45, man. You hit 45 and you got things happen you didn't happen before. I've had to use, well, now I just take my contacts out. But, so I don't know that I'm painting any better, but I'm enjoying all the details of the figure more. So, I'm enjoying the process of painting more now because I get to, well, the figure's a lot bigger, you know? So I get to see more of it. I don't know, I'm just enjoying it more. So that's good. I think all the accoutrements on these guys, I'm going to make them the same. So this is the part where I did the flesh, I believe. Let's go ahead and do the flesh on them. You don't need to be nearsighted to paint well. It's just, I'm enjoying it a lot more that now I just take my contacts out. I didn't know flies had pubic hair. I didn't know either. Oh man. So I'm naturally a -6.5. So for those of you that are not nearsighted and don't know what the hell that means, that's the equivalent of you guys putting on a pair of those visors that are +6.5. So that's pretty strong. So this is, even when I had contacts in, this is easy on the eyes, because you're not moving, you're not focusing in and out and stuff. It's always the same distance. And I've got this figure probably maybe 6 inches from my face. So, yeah. All right. I gotta find that KV2 poem and print it out, put it somewhere. I like that. That was awesome. Should make that my goal today. Read about the KV2 today. There was that one incident, and I want to say it's in von Mellenthin's book that talks about that place where the KV parks in the middle of the highway and holds up the entire Panzer Division for like a day or something like that. Maybe it was longer than a day. I want to say it's the first place I have it. I read that book so many years ago, and I still have it in paperback. Panzer battles. At the time, I liked it. Who knows? If I looked at it again, I'd be like, this is just a bunch of self-serving propaganda stuff. Okay, there's that. Let's do his face now. You got a lot of painting to do. I've purchased 8 Essex armies in the past 2 weeks. Uh-oh. Down the rabbit hole. Ritter's Sport is chocolate, by the way. Okay. It sounds like deodorant. KV2 story reminded me of the Mirror Fury. That the one where the Germans used a division as a distraction so they could bring up some 88s behind it. I'm sure, but I don't actually think the 88s took it out. I'll have to find that story. And I think that story, there were several of them. Scenario. I'm pretty sure that was in Panzer Battles where I first read it. Let's see. Got it right here. This thing. Man, this thing's old. Probably read this in the 80s. I know I read it in the 80s. Yeah. This guy seemed to be in the right place at the right time. In other words, all the stuff I was interesting. Oh, a Ballantyne book. Yeah. Smells like Reagan. It's old. It's from 1956, so. Russia. No, it wasn't in this book because looks like he was Poland, France, Balkans, and then he jumps to the desert. And then in Russia, it starts kind of with Stalingrad. So, yeah. I want to get on Audible the book by Rouse, because his might be called Panzer Battles too, or something like that. This has all the Gazala and the stuff in there as well. Like the Western Desert stuff, man. The Western Desert stuff's cool. The Rouse's book, he was one of the guys that was in the relief of Stalingrad in Wintergewitter, and that's one of my favorite type of campaigns. That was the punch to relieve the encircled Stalingrad, which of course failed, but you know, there might be some interesting scenarios from that. But not that I'm going to do any snow camouflage vehicles, but maybe I'll do one, see how it turns out. Well, the bottom of the running gear can just look just like this KV2. I mean, all like mud and shit. Mud to the max. Doesn't really, it looks better in person than it does on the video. So, anyhow, we got to work on this off and on. But, anywho, got the Ghost of Canine. Looking forward to reading and listening. It is freaking awesome. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing. Especially if you've already done the history of Rome, so you kind of know how the layout of what happened first and what happened second. It's just really, really cool. So, one thing I forgot to mention in the video last night, I didn't really plan any of the questions, but he had asked me what my favorite Roman. Another Roman that's really interesting is this guy called Marcellus. And Marcellus was a guy that actually died in battle, but I believe he killed an other enemy commander in hand-to-hand combat, and that was pretty cool. He fought in the Second Punic War, and he ended up getting ambushed and died, got cut down. But he was kind of an interesting guy, and not a guy somebody thinks about all the time. So okay, so let's do the face on this guy. Favorite Roman. I want to read about Trajan. So, don't know much about him. I've got an early imperial an early imperial Mormon army. No, that doesn't work. Early imperial Roman army of that period. And Dacians would be cool to do. But the Roman Empire was at its largest extent. He was at the helm, so kind of the appeal to do that. But early Imperial Roman army, they've got 3 or 4 stands of solid ox, so who knows? You got to find something useful for them to do. Well, they do fight against warband. They do fight against warband. Idiots filled it full of holes, and then crews walked up to examine them behind the back of the turret, opened up on them. Okay, I'm going to have to read about that thing. I think there were several incidents. There might have been one incident with a KV-1 and one with a KV-2, but that's That's like movie moments, you know, stuff like that. But if they made a movie out of it, they just freaking do it wrong. leave a bad taste in your mouth kind of thing. I think we can just switch to the smaller brush at this point. And these aren't quality brushes. These are, Ching Chang Chung, whatever brushes from our friends there in Red China, which we're not going to purchase any more of these things. We're going to get them from another source. I think I've got some German ones sourced out. So they can be from Taiwan. They just don't have any Taiwanese ones. I just don't want to buy them from that place anymore. But we'll use what we have. But they work okay. So they have a limited lifespan. They're only good for a certain amount of time. So that's why I want to use that one that I use for the key. I want to keep that one separate from this one that I use to find details on the face and, you know. Zhuan Chen. Okay. All right. And then we're going to add more of this color here. I'm avoiding Chinese purchases as well. As much as I can, I will. I didn't like to buy stuff from them anyways, but all the stuff that happened in 2020 just really, we need to take that power away from us that they hold over the rest of the world. So, you know, and it's not the people that are from there. They've got a raw deal. Well, the people in charge don't have a raw deal, but everybody else is kind of, you know, there's some poor folks out there, but just when things look like it was turning in the right direction from them. So I believe I read about it in an instructions model of a monogram model. I'm gonna find that Chinese laminate armor is hard to paint. Yeah, but it looks really cool. Man, the Asian armor is really, really cool. Love the Asian armies. They're super, super cool, including the Chinese. The Chinese have really an interesting history. I really like the Chinese armies. Just don't like the PLA. Just don't like the plan. Just don't like the current plan, guys. Yeah, the Chinese history is really cool. I have many, many Chinese armies, and I like them a lot. So my favorite Chinese army is what's called Northern and Southern Dynasties, and I had a Southern Dynasty army that was the first one that I won a big tournament with at Historicon, and I really liked it because in the old 2.2, the way I ran it is it had um, 3 blades, 4 crossbows, a cataphract general, a cav, a light horse, and an elephant. And that was the reason I built it, is because it was a Chinese army that had an elephant. Well, in 3.0, that army got reconfigured and it no longer has an elephant. So the elephants now, later Tang has the elephant. So I don't know why there was just such a big shift, because it is the same author. It's not like, maybe he had an argument with himself and talked him out of it, himself out of it. I don't know. But regardless, I've got a Chinese elephant that's really cool looking and not usable in that army. So I may have to configure. But now they gained war wagons. Now they can have 2 war wagons. And I actually have some Chinese style war wagons done from a guy that was doing 3D printing. You could watch I did an unboxing of them on my channel. You could check them out. They look really, really cool. So that might be an incentive to refurbish that army and get them up to speed. But looking forward to getting these other armies up to 3.0 standards that you guys haven't seen in videos for a while. Because I don't really want to do the 2.2 armies. Like, hey, you have to explain. It's not that they're they're too unfair or anything like that. But anytime I film it, I'd have to explain. Oh yeah, by the way, you're not going to find this army list because it's the old one, you know, kind of thing. So yeah. So as far as the Chinese products go, if we all do our part, it doesn't really matter whether our government decides to get in bed with them or not. If the population doesn't buy their stuff, then what good is that, right? So, yeah, my Sung Army was converted. I converted that one from 2.2, but no, it's my Southern Dynasties. It's book 279. It's it was my favorite Chinese army. Yeah, that thing kicked some serious ass. So that's where the Wall of Doom came. 4 crossbowmen and 3 blades just marching forward, and then enough nasty stuff to plug holes. And yeah, I like that army. That's a great army. But I don't want every army to be the same makeup. That's kind of defeats the purpose in building different ones. At least for me, anyways. All right. Wood on the crossbow. Most of the U.S. and the world is asleep to this threat, though. I'm not. It's pretty obvious what's at work here. And I'm not a conspiracy guy, but this pandemic happened and it solved a lot of their problems all of a sudden. Interesting. But I know I can't change the world by myself, but it at least makes me feel better. I just feel like, buying Chinese products now would be like buying them in 1936 from the Third Reich. I'm funding the wrong thing. So, but that's the part of freedom. People should be able to do whatever the hell they want with their own money. So, I'll buy brushes from other countries, any of the other ones, Italy, France, Germany, Japan. I came across some Japanese brushes, and they're more, and it's a huge difference. I mean, the difference between $3 for a pack or like 20, it's huge, but I don't go through them that much, and I'm okay. I'm in this position where I can at least do that, so I'm going to try to do my part. So they play the long game. They're not in a hurry to do what they're doing, and we should do the same thing. We should play the long game and be like, okay, well, a little bit of a time, you might be able to make a difference. So I always look at, if I'm going to order something, I see where it's made and then make a decision whether or not I really want that, where I really need it. So, okay, we got that done. Let's get some metal on here. But I'm still going to be painting Chinese armies. Chinese armies are cool. I got several people in the hobby from Hong Kong, and they have been very quiet this last year. Probably for good reason. I mean, I would too. Running your mouth is usually not worth dying for. So I hope those folks get some good news in the future here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're painting the helmet, and we're leaving a little bit of a black line between the top portion and the other one because that accentuates the angle that the part is that's covering over his ears. That helps accentuate that. British brushes. So here's the problem. They're extremely expensive. And there's no one that carries them, so I can't see them and say, let me try one. So I'm buying sight unseen, and I just don't know what kind of, because every brush is different. That's the problem with them. So I will try a Winsor & Newton brush out when um, when um, when I get a chance to. But I want to pick it up in person so I can see, okay, we'll go with this one, and then maybe use it for very specific things and just try them out. Everybody raves about them. I've just never lived in a place that had them. And they have had them at conventions. And, when you're at a convention, I'm not worried about picking up brushes. I may be now because I don't need any lead or anything else. So I'm interested in picking up some of those products that I wouldn't have before because like I don't ever need to buy any more lead, you know. So we're good there. So one of the best things that happened about the pandemic, also one of the best things, because there's so many good, not. I think it revitalized this hobby. There's a lot of people that are doing this because they were locked down and stuff. So that's good. I'm glad that the vendors of our products are hopefully doing better in some ways. So because we don't want these guys to disappear. You know. All right. So what do we? So we did that. Is it time for do the wonderful shield? I got to be careful because if the girls are awake, I don't want to get in the middle of the shield and then be like, man, I got to stop. So let me do a little recon and I will be right back. And we'll be right back. Okay. Final 10 minutes or so. Man, you guys are just like sitting at the edge of your seat. I thought I was going to be able to get this guy done too, but that's okay. We got so far that now the part that's left is the fun part, which is the shield part. So, Art Games Workshops made brushes made in England. I don't know. You would think, but sometimes you don't know. And who's that? Army Painter also has some, but I purposefully. So here's something that. So this is the one. You know what? We're not going to paint the shield. Let's talk about brushes a little bit, and then we'll finish with that. Move this guy to the side. No, we kicked some ass today. So this is the brushes I had before were ones I bought at. Do I still have a pack of that? No, I don't. Like, so this is the brand that I had, and I don't know what brand. Actually, they're shoot, Plaid. They're Plaid brushes, which is funny because Plaid paint is made in the U.S. You'd think if anything wasn't made in the United States, oh, this is a Plaid brand, it would be paint that's less than $1. You would think this would be imported, but nope. This is U.S. paint, Norcross, Georgia, made in the USA. If you'd think anything would be imported, it would be this. But the same brushes, these are either packaged as folk art or Plaid. I'd get these at Walmart, which I don't go to Walmart anymore, but that was for a different issue. They before this issue, but so then I stopped buying them. So then I went to Hobby Lobby and I got these Fine Touch, and these are a little bit more expensive. Well, they're $7 a pack instead of like under $4 a pack, but you could use their 40% off discount, so it's not too bad. The problem is these are made in China, which, you know, since then I bought these before 2020. So now I also noticed that they have a set of brushes here that I'm a little skeptical of them. These are Royal Langnickel. Normally with the brushes, they say at the bottom where they're made. Like these will say, well, this one doesn't say where it is. It's on the package. But these Royal Majestics, they don't say on the brush or on the package where they come from. So they probably come from, but these are $20 for this many. So we're going to give them a shot. I don't know if they are any again, but in future, I'm not going to buy any unless it specifically says that they come from a certain country I'm willing to buy things from. So I found some on Amazon. They come from Germany. So the Germans behave now. It only took a bunch of firebombing to get the fix, but I have no problem buying things from Germany or Italy or France or the UK or, you know, most places. So we're definitely going to be on the lookout where those are coming from. But I've got so many of these Chinese brushes. I mean, so many that unless they unleash another virus, I'm not going to snap all these in half just yet. But yeah. So anyhow, yeah, so I'm always looking for, you know, I'm surprised why there aren't, you know, like Italian brushes or, you know, French brushes or something like that, or ones made in Taiwan or Korea. There are some that I found out that were made in Japan, so we might give those guys a shot. But yeah, for the future, we want to get that stuff on there, so not use that for any of our purposes. But if you guys want to buy stuff in China, that's fine too. You know, you can do with your money whatever you want. That's the beauty of freedom. It's always in style and it always fits. So, but anyhow, well, thanks for hanging out with me, folks. And we got 1.5 figures done. For those of you guys that joined in after the fact, this is the guy that we got done. Man, look at that sexy shield. And this is a crossbowman militia crossbowmen from the town of Regensburg. So, anyhow, we've got 3/4 of a guy to do here, and then 2 more guys to do here, and then that stand will be done. And then we can move on to the Petronel guys. So tomorrow morning, we'll have another session and we will finish up this guy. If I don't get a chance to work on him between now and then, which I probably won't. We also have our little German war wagon to work on. Okay, and this is kind of a strange vehicle. This is an Essex casting, and it's strange that you could tell I can talk louder now because the whole clan is awake now. I'm the only idiot that likes to wake up early. So, show you a little bit of what this is. You guys have seen this. It has that weird mantlet type thing. Okay, and this thing fits like this in the center, and then it has like these little things that go. And I was trying to figure out what exactly they're for. Supposedly there's like a gun that can go through there, but they have the same pieces on the opposite side, and I don't know how you would fit a gun in something that small, but I don't know. We'll find out how to. I'm sure we'll make the right decision on how to put this thing together and figures on it when the time comes, but we're going to probably put 4 figures on that stand as well. So we'll have a little German war wagon. There's enough space on here to paint some eagles on there. Always a fan of anything that involves eagles. So I'm a little prejudiced with that since my crest of arms also has an eagle on it. I get it. So anyhow, let's see, anything new? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. So catch you guys in the morning. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.